Hello, it's great to be here. This is the Christmas season, and it's time for us to start buying gifts and putting up trees and cooking. And I am a curious person. I'm always looking up stuff from the past about who did what for Christmas. And so one time I went and looked up what Martha Washington would have cooked. Of course, she didn't cook, she had servants. But at that time, for Christmas and special occasions, they made a fruitcake. It isn't a fruitcake like you and I are familiar with, but it was kind of a spice cake that had dried fruit in it. And I found a modernized recipe, and that's what I made. And it was really very good. I need to have that one written up so I can give it away to friends for the Christmas season. But I think, regardless of what you do, whatever your traditions are, that you need to find ways to show your family love and show everybody love, because that's what Christmas is all about. Really, it's about the love of God and the fact that He sent His Son to die for us. But today I have my good friend, Peggy Sue Wells, and she has that knack for loving history like I do. So I want her to talk a little bit about her own family. She had a lot more kids than I do. And I want to talk about her family and her traditions and how she showed love to her family during that time. So welcome, Peggy Sue.
Cynthia, it is always so fun to just be able to chat with you. Thanks for inviting me to talk about Christmas with you.
Yes, I love it. You're one of my favorite people to interview.
Yay. And I did have 7 kids, and you had a pile yourself, and we both homeschooled. And one of the things that I do now, because the children are grown, but I used to do this also with extended family when we would get together at Christmas and at Thanksgiving. And the thing that I do that I think is probably the most loving thing that I can do for my kids now is that I recognize that my grown children all have their own families, their own mortgage, they have their own schedule, they have jobs, they have in-laws on the other side. And so I tell them that for the holiday, they're always invited and never obligated. You don't even have to give me an excuse. It's like, yes, we're coming. No, we're not. Always invited, never obligated. There's no pressure. I feel too that I need to make it pleasant and fun enough that they want to come, so that they're going to come out of their own free will, not because there's any guilt put on there. And then what I did for them, because again, big family, they've got families, they all live hours away, they all live closer to their other in-laws than they do to me. And so I've told them, you know what, when you're trying to play, because it used to be like long about September, August, people are on the phone going, what are we doing this year? What are we doing this year? And I said, gosh, this is just too much work. So I told them, always invited, never obligated. And I will always do Thanksgiving the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So that way it's always there. It's the same day every time, but it gives them Thanksgiving to create their own family traditions that they're going to have with their kids. Also, because they live closer to their in-laws, they can go see their in-laws, sometime during those couple of days. And then they know Saturday will be here. And I do the same thing on Christmas. It's the Saturday after Christmas is when things are going to happen here at my house. We'll have the big meal, we'll have the presents. And the meals have been kind of the same. We like to do it Thanksgiving. We like to do an island theme. All my kids have honeymooned on the island. I love the beach. And so we always do some sort of an island theme. So it's different. It's not quite as heavy. And then we always have at Christmas, when everybody shows up, the first thing we do is have breakfast together, and we have lox and bagels, and it's always lox and bagels. And for the new people that have come into our family that are married in, some of them don't care for lox, so they just have bagels and cream cheese. And one year when my son was in the military, he missed Thanksgiving and he was going to be here for Christmas. So when I got to talk to him, I'm like, well, since you missed Thanksgiving, do you want me to do a turkey for you for Christmas when you're here? And he goes, Mom, it's lox and bagels. Our tradition is lox and bagels. And it just made my heart happy, because I'm like, oh, we've associated that this is what we do. So we do lox and bagels for breakfast. We always read the Christmas story. One of the grandkids will read the story from the Bible. We put the nativity pieces out as we're reading. The other grandkids will put the pieces together. And then we do our stockings, and then we pray. And then we also move into our gifts. And then after the gifts have been opened, we just have a big charcuterie. Everybody brings something, and we just lay out all kinds of our favorite foods that are quick and easy, so nobody has to do a whole lot of cooking. Because, again, you remember when we had kids and you're packing presents and you're packing diaper bags and you're remembering the diapers and the extra changes of clothes. So the other thing that I tell my kids is anybody that's traveling, I tell them, don't worry about bringing a dish. Don't bring anything. Just bring you and the kids. That's enough. I'll handle the rest. So hopefully that makes it easier for them and more pleasant for them to come. Personally, I read The Best Christmas Pageant Ever each year. That's my favorite Christmas story. And now they've got a movie out for it. They have a feature film this year that's just debuted out in the theaters. And then for the people that are thinking about Christmas, I do have Homeless for the Holidays. And so that's a little novella that people can share. And then also Christmas from the Heart, which is, I've got a story in this, and it's a collection of Christmas short stories. And those are both through Elk Lake Publishing. So those, I think, are probably our biggest traditions, is just make it as easy as possible and then make it so that hopefully people enjoy coming because they get to, not because they have to.
Now, see, I think that is a huge key, that they get to come, not because they have to, because they want to come. Yep. And especially as your kids are starting to leave home, that's a biggie.
And when they're grown up, they don't have to come back. They don't have to schedule. So we were, we just had Thanksgiving. So my family was here on Saturday, and as we're all around the table, we used to always put the 3 pieces of corn on the table on your plate, because there was one Thanksgiving that's all the pilgrims had was 3 kernels of corn to eat. And so we'll say 3 things that we're thankful for. And one of the things that I tell them over and over again is, I am thankful that you guys carve time out of your schedule to pack up the kids and to come, because that's a gift to me. They don't have to. They could definitely be far too busy. So I know that it's a sacrifice and a gift from them when they carve time out of their schedules and literally drive hours to get here. So I'm grateful.
What about when your kids were younger? Was it harder then to help them to feel loved? You had a lot.
Yeah, I had 7, 6 daughters, 1 son. I don't think so. At least I hope not. We had a lot of things that were just, it was like we tried to recognize the individual in each person. Like, what is your favorite thing? What do you love to do? And so there were those that, wanted to cook, and the ones that had their favorite recipes. It's like, what's your recipe? Because we'll cook, each one of you will make sure that your favorite dish is on the table. We also spent a lot of time one-on-one. Anytime I went someplace or did something, I always had somebody with me. So they got one-on-one time with me. And I was never lonely. And again, we got time together. When somebody started having behavior issues, that meant you got to spend more time with mom. It was never go to your room. It was, oh, you clearly need more time with mom. And I think for a lot of kids that are having behavior issues, sometimes that really is it. They just need attention. They've got a hurting heart in some way. And it's not going to get solved necessarily if they're off on their own, but it will get solved when you just spend time doing things together. You can work through that. Maybe have conversations. Sometimes you just need that closeness, sort of that Winnie the Pooh thing. You just need to know that you're there. So yeah, time together, and making sure that there was also downtime. That there was opportunities to just do what you want to do. We would finish our schooling, and then you're free to go do what you want. So if you want to go hang out with the horse, or you wanted to go, play out in the pond, or you want to go build a fort or whatever, but they needed time to be able to just downtime and be able to rest and relax.
I think that's important too. And, I love your attitude of just wanting to spend time with each child and know what they like and be sure you minister to them, especially if they are a problem. That is a good idea, that you just spend time with them. Very good.
Yeah. And they do definitely need more time together. And my kids laugh about it now. They're like, oh my gosh, we knew. We just got to run all your errands with you. We just got to go be with you. And if everybody was fine and there was, nobody that needed like more time with mom because of behavior issues, wherever I was going, I just rotated somebody through. And I can remember, it's like, whose turn is it to go with mom? And they kind of kept track. We sort of went oldest to youngest, and maybe it was youngest to oldest, I forget. But anyway, they just knew it was, it's so-and-so's, and we just jump in the car and off we go, or go outside and work in the garden, or just go down and do some laundry together. But it's like, okay, whose turn? So. Good stuff.
My mother had a recipe that she cooked every year, and it was oatmeal cookies. And there weren't really any super special ingredients, but something about all of them together. I always think of Christmas and of her oatmeal rocks. So I wondered if you had a special thing that you cooked over the holidays.
We have a couple of things that show up on every year. So I make a key lime pie from scratch that everybody loves, and I love putting that out for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Again, we tend to lean towards that island theme. We make pecan pie. Everybody loves that. But our Wells family upgrade is that we put chocolate chips in the bottom of that pie shell and then pour the ingredients over top of that. So we have pecan pie with chocolate chips in it. And then I make a pumpkin cake that we call Lonnie Joy birthday cake, because each time I had a baby, we had our babies here at the house, I would always have a birthday cake ready. It had nothing to do with the infant, but the bigger kids loved it. So it was the birthday cake. And after the baby was born, we would have that. So we did this. It was a pumpkin cake that also had chocolate chips and nuts in it. It's called Lonnie Joy birthday cake, because the first time we made it was when my second was born, Leilani. So that actually was out just recently at Thanksgiving as well. And then I have these walnut shortbread cookies. I'm going to read you the recipe. So quick, so easy, and so healthy. But it's 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of walnuts, or you could do pecans, and you put them in the blender, 1 cup sugar, 1 cup butter. And you just like mix all that together and just pat it down into a baking dish and cook it on 350 for 20 minutes. And they're light and they're so rich and they're so delish. And they have all those nuts, which I think, well, a little protein. So good stuff.
Down south, we would call it pecan pie.
Pecan. Yes, you would. Yes, you would. And I don't know which one it really is. I guess maybe it's just regionally.
But that's what we would say here. But you said it.
I said pecan, yeah, because I'm from California.
Yeah, you put the accent on the wrong syllable.
Yes, yes, exactly so.
Do you have anything you'd like to say in closing?
What I'd like to say in closing, I think the best thing that we can do for everyone around us, like when sometimes I say to myself, Peggy Sue, what's it like to live with you? What's it like to be with you? And it's a good question to remind me, how am I acting? How am I being? And I think the best thing that we can do is if we can keep Christmas in our heart all year round and remember to treat people all year the way we treat them at Christmas. I think that's probably the loveliest thing that we can do. There's just something very special about kindness and just about being appreciative and saying thank you. And that means thank you to the post person, and thank you to the UPS person, and thank you to the person that you pass in the store or while you're getting gas or whatever. But just treating people like it's Christmas all the way along would probably be the best gift we can give.
I agree with that. And I think Christmas is a time that we need to show the love of God more than ever. And if we can keep that up all year long, is even better. But yes, I just don't want people to get so busy that they forget that, because that's easy to do.
It is, with all again, which comes back to obligation. We feel the obligation of, I have to decorate, I have to put up the lights, I have to do all the stuff. One of the ways that I kind of brought down decorating a little bit is, rather than putting up a tree, I have a little short table, and then I have nativity pieces that are about this tall. And so we put up the nativity scene, and that's my center. And then underneath that, because there's kind of a tablecloth that drapes down, and then we put the gifts around the foot of the nativity. And it was just kind of, for me, one way to keep the focus on what we're really doing. We're really celebrating the arrival of Jesus. And then secondly, it was one less thing that I had to do, like either go get a tree or decorate the tree or undecorate the tree. This goes up quicker and easier for me.
Sounds like you streamlined it.
Try to, because there is those feelings of obligation that we have to.
Yeah, there are, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
and a lot of times it's the women that do it.
There are, and I watch our younger generation, because they have more pressure on themselves, Cynthia, than you and I ever did. I mean, it's all about recycling and this, that, and I mean, stuff that we didn't have to worry about. They're having to add that in. Plus, they're generally 2-career families, and there's a lot. And so again, I want to go back to, if it steals our peace, if it steals my peace, then it probably is best not part of what we're doing.
I agree. It should be a blessed season, not a stressful season.
Yep. Yep. So when the kids were little, again, with all 7, I would just say to each of them, what's the one thing that is important to you this Christmas? And each of them had one thing. And it's like, okay, if we check those off, we're great. And I'm not going to pile more on. Nobody needs that. We need to be able to enjoy it.
Well, with 7 kids, you had 7 things to do.
Right.
So that was probably enough.
And generally, for one, they wanted to bake cookies, and somebody else wanted to go caroling, and somebody else wanted to go see a play, and somebody else wanted to read the best Christmas pageant ever. So it was all doable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for being with us. I really enjoyed it. And Merry Christmas.
Same to you, Cynthia.
Okay, I can find my button here. Where's my button? Here it is.